Hello and welcome to Did You Say That Out Loud? This is Marette and I'll be spending a few minutes with friends and we're going to chat about life and kids and friends and travel and crazy topics and a few memories. So I can guarantee that you will laugh and you may learn a few things about what brings people together and what keeps them connected in their relationships and their faith walk. Hope you enjoy. Well, hi. This is Marette, and today I have a guest that I have known 36 years. Is that right?
That is true.
That is true. I am forcing my husband to talk to me. Am I forcing you to talk?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
what you call it.
So we've been married for 35 years. It may not be after this interview, right?
Well, could be.
It could be.
Who knows?
So we have been on vacation together for 2 weeks. Almost 2 weeks. Almost 2 weeks.
It will be 2 weeks.
It will be 2 weeks. We have been to Ireland, to Germany, back to Ireland. And we have seen interesting things. So what was the first thing you thought of when I said I wanted to go to Ireland?
I thought of the little stone fences you see in pictures, where they have the little stone walls and everybody has their little sheep in there, and the green pastures, green hillsides, I guess. So I didn't know nothing about Ireland other than these stone walls.
Were you excited?
A little bit.
That's just being blunt honest. We have traveled a lot of different places, so we got a trip. Well, on our honeymoon, we went to D.C. and then kind of went around the East Coast. And then we've gone, with the kids, we just kind of traveled to your brother's in Michigan.
Well, we stayed in the States.
Yeah.
It was easier.
Yeah, and then
flying stuff is kind of.
Jim doesn't fly well. No, you fly well. You don't land well.
Yeah, just my stomach stays up in the clouds.
Yeah, and the body comes down. But we did go to Hawaii.
We did,
and you handled that fine.
As long as I got my little patch behind the ear, I do well.
As long as you got your patch. As long
I
as you
don't know
got
if
your
it's
patch.
just psychological or okay, or if it doesn't bother anymore. But
well,
it helps.
All I know is that we hadn't been married but a few days, and we're landing in Washington, D.C., and you have your head in the bag or between your legs or whatever, and that was like, oh my goodness.
I held it though.
You held it.
But that was actually maybe only the second or third time I've flown. So
I have introduced you to great and wild and wonderful things.
The other times, one time it bothered me a little bit, and the other time it didn't. So I didn't know. So,
where is the craziest place we've gone before Ireland?
Craziest place?
Crazy, yeah. What is off the beaten path?
Oh, probably in Texas when we seen that car stuck in the ground.
Oh, Cadillac Ranch.
Yeah, it was just weird.
Pueblo Duro Canyon, that was cool though.
Yeah, I don't know what weird place.
Well, we went one time with Mark and Denise and the kids somewhere in Kentucky to some bridge.
Oh, yeah.
That was really, really different. It was kind of cool. And then there was a copperhead there, and you guys all wanted to get closer.
Yeah, we just walked over it. Oh, what's that? And then now after we realized it was a copperhead.
You still stayed there, and I ran back.
A picture of it.
Yeah, had to get a picture of it. Had to get a picture of it. So describe driving in Ireland, because.
Well, I was prepared because I knew that because Brent rented a car and they said everything is a stick shift. Mm-hmm. So I was prepared myself to shift left-handed and then stay on the left side of the road. So I was prepared for that. And so as we land in Dublin and we rent a car and we have to get out of town, and I'm trying to learn this car, driving on the wrong side of the road, trying to get out with all the traffic.
With roundabouts.
Yeah, the roundabouts you go the wrong way, the other way.
And if we would have never made it if it hadn't been for GPS. GPS, ridiculous.
We'd still be going around and around and roundabouts.
And then I don't even know where we were. We didn't keep track of where we were, but I was hungry, which is not new. Pulled into some place, went and got our food, And that's when we figured out we didn't know how to back up.
Oh, I knew in reverse, most cars, there's a little switch to get it in reverse so you don't put it in reverse when you're shifting it. And I hadn't figured that out yet because we haven't backed up. So it took me a few minutes to figure out where to flip the little lever up.
Going forward. But we had a small car. I've never heard of it. It was called a Clio.
Renault Clio.
And all I know is that Clio, I think, was Marion Jones's husband, because she always used to talk about Clio. That's the only thing I remember.
They have a lot of different cars that I've never heard of over here.
And they're small.
Brands.
They're small.
Everything's small.
Everything's small.
Even the roads, they're small. Except the buses and the semis are big.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one thing that does not exist is shoulders.
Oh.
There's no shoulders. There's a line down the middle of the road, and then sometimes there's 2 lines on the sides.
2 yellow lines.
But those are optional.
And there's always a brick wall on the shoulder. Or a bunch of trees and brush.
There was more than a few times I could have, if I'd opened down the window, been snapped by tree bushes because they were kind of crazy. Our first day wasn't too bad because we just went up to Sleeve League and it was kind of in the middle of nowhere and we kind of drove. That wasn't too bad. The second day, I don't remember, we went to Donegal and Ballyshannon and that wasn't too bad. The challenge got to be with when we got down to Killarney. Because that was in the mountains when we came over those mountains, and that was...
Because you go around corners, they're like hairpin turns, and you're turning, and you got to stay over, because then other cars are coming around, and everybody's driving fast, and it's just difficult. And then you got to remember to stay on the left side of the road,
and slow down. Slow down was my favorite word.
Oh.
Because...
Traffic calming.
Oh, yeah,
That's what the sign said.
The sign,
Traffic calming ahead.
Which meant you were narrowing down.
Slowing down.
Slowing down. It was interesting because the traffic signs, most of them were understood, but some of them were not until you've driven with roads that, narrow ridiculously. Now, there were quite a few times where there was not room for 2 cars. I don't even remember where we were, maybe leaving Cliffs of Moyer.
Yeah, they have one car usually has to pull off as far as they can over, and then the other car goes slow around it. So,
yep.
It's just...
I was disappointed in a couple things. One was we did not come upon sheep in the middle of the road. They had pictures of that. I kind of thought that would be cool. But we did see sheep out of fences.
Yeah, but they were just sitting.
They were sitting quietly on the road. Another thing that was really, really cool is when you looked up the hills and the cliffs, which is where we spent a lot of our time, the goats and the sheep just perched, and the cows.
And the cows, yeah.
And the cows just...
There was some steep pastures that they were on. Pretty steep.
They were very steep.
They were way up there, so.
And there was a lot of them. You'd come around a corner and you'd see, 40 sheep in a... And where we were in the north, they cleared the pastures and made the rock fences so that they'd have grass to eat.
They couldn't, because they wanted to get the rock off the field. So that's when they started making all these fences. And then they just did it on their boundary to make the boundaries. But there's this stone fences everywhere.
There's stone fences everywhere.
And they're all standing yet. They're I don't know, they're perfectly
So
standing.
they're horizontal rocks, and then on the very top they put the rocks vertical to make it be like a cool edging on top. When we got down toward the south, we noticed there was a lack of, the rocks weren't in the fields like it was. Much more like big pastures.
There was more cropland there.
Definitely more cropland.
Otherwise, out west there was no cropland. It was just all grass.
We did see a cornfield.
We saw one, yeah.
We saw some barley fields.
Yep.
I don't know if we saw any other fields.
I think that's about it. They need the barley and the corn for their whiskey.
Yep, and the beer.
Big, yeah. So.
And the beer.
And the beer, yeah.
So then we came back to Dublin after we ran around, and we only had one little mishap, and that was the parking ticket that we got standing in line at the parking. Because if you'd go into a parking place, you could park your car, and then you went to, what was it, a parking park and pay.
Park and play, yeah.
So then you'd go to your park and play, and you'd put your money in, and then you'd take the paper and put it back in your windshield inside your car. So we got a ticket while standing in line.
Yeah, 2 minutes there.
Yeah, trying to get,
But that's another thing. There's no parking in these little villages. Everybody just parks on the curb, in the road, and they just make one lane. People park wherever they want to. So,
yeah.
Parking is a premium. So if they do have a parking spot, you got to pay.
And these truckers, okay, the semi-trucks, or what do you call them, tilt cabs?
They're cab-overs.
Cab-overs.
Because they can turn sharper than...
And they turn incredibly. I mean, these big, huge tour buses, and they just take over. So then we came back, turned the car in, which I think you were slightly relieved.
Yeah, we didn't have any issues.
No, just me getting nervous.
Parking ticket, yeah.
Yeah. And then we go to Germany. And Germany was a totally different experience because you didn't get to drive.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to that. Except they drive on the normal side of the road, so that would have been easy.
Yeah, we took the trains. So we get into Hamburg, and we get to the train, and we go down. And the first thing we did in Germany is something that most people never do on a trip. We went and did laundry. No, we did laundry in Limerick.
You did.
We had a very eventful day Sunday. That's probably because we didn't go to church. It's probably because we didn't go to church. So I had kind of made the plans.
Well, you were praying a lot, probably.
I was probably praying a lot. Definitely was. When I got COVID in November, I watched a lot of videos, and then I made my agenda by what I thought was going to be cool. So the Aarons Islands is the big thing to go to. We were going to rent bikes, have a lot of fun. Well, we had a lot of fun in Galway that Saturday night. And then early Sunday morning, we drive down to Doolin, and it was like it has done for the last 6 weeks in Ireland, raining. So we layered. I had a t-shirt, long sleeve shirt, flannel shirt, sweater, coat, because we layered everything we could. I don't know how many layers you had on. But we took a ferry across to these islands. And that started the problem.
Yeah, well, I got, she said earlier that I got a little problem with motion sickness. Well, yeah, we got about 5 minutes out in the water, and all of a sudden I just started eating up. I got hot, and I was sweating just dripping off of me. And I was trying to hold it, and I did pretty good till except it was really rough. It was really rough.
It was rough.
And I wasn't the only one, and almost there, then I finally lost it. And we should see people running when somebody's losing their cookies there.
Well, it wasn't just him. There was a little kid leaning over the wastebasket, and there was quite a few other people.
But they were prepared. They had garbage bags.
They'd come running right over and hand you garbage bags.
The first time it happened.
And then they swabbed the decks. So we spent the day on Aarons Island getting totally drenched. The idea to rent bikes went out the window. We got in a tour bus, a little van, and toured. We hiked up to the top of this crazy thing in the downpouring rain. And I don't remember being that wet. I don't know if I've ever got that wet.
Yeah, because your pants, your shoes, but it was worth it. It was just so cool. Go up there and see that and how big these cliffs were. And the thing is, the cliffs, I don't know how tall they were, 300-400 feet straight down, but you could walk right up to the edge and look down. There's no barriers or fences or warnings or anything. So that was kind of cool too.
I wasn't standing by the edge.
Yeah, so I had to go up and look down the edge and just see how far down it was.
Yeah.
And it was a long ways.
Yeah.
Heights don't bother me. I can do that.
No, heights bother me that somebody else is standing there. So then we get back, and we're trying to warm up, and we get back on the ferry to go back to mainland. And it's supposed to be a 35-minute drive out. It took us over 45 minutes. And on the way back, it took an hour and a half. The waves were awful. And you left me.
Yeah. I couldn't, inside it was so muggy and hot. And I said, I'm not doing this. So I just went to the back of the boat and stood outside.
And I probably shouldn't have. But all around me were people with bags and losing it everywhere. And people And that was just where I was. He had another movie happening back where he
Yeah,
was.
I was fine. I got the patch on, and wasn't sick. And it was nice and cool, and these big waves were flying, and water was coming in, and we were getting salt water in our face, and people were trying to stick their head coming out. They were coming to the back of the boat, and you could see they didn't feel good. So they were trying to stick their head over the side. Yeah, people were throwing up on the deck, and people were running here. More people were coming out, and I was just sitting there. Yeah, I feel pretty good. So, and they were out there hosing things down, so they're probably were accustomed to that.
And we were gone from like, I don't know, 11 o'clock till 5:30, I suppose. But parts of that time seemed to take forever because it was cold. And then we got back to our place, and we went in, and we both took hot showers just trying to warm up. But then everything we had was drenched. So the next day, then we headed to a laundromat to wash and dry the wet stuff because our shoes already were starting to stink.
Wet clothes in your luggage and not get everything all wet.
Yeah, it was a mess. You just throw them in the back of the car and hope for the best. So what one thing are you taking away from the trip? I think for me this was a dream. I wanted to come to Ireland. My great grandmother, I think is who she was. They came from Ireland, and my grandfather, well, the two that got married, obviously, Osborne and Irving, and they were from Antrim County, which is way up by Belfast. We didn't go anywhere near that. But for me, I was not prepared for the beauty on the by the coast. That was by far the most incredible thing. I just figured we could go till the road quit, and it went into the ocean, and we found some incredibly cool things to see. That probably was I don't know, that was probably my favorite, one of my favorites.
I think it was too. I wasn't prepared for the scenery that we saw, with just these huge cliffs and the ocean water, waves hitting the rocks. And there was a saying we saw somewhere. It said something about if you see the beauty in nature, how can you not believe in God? And it was something like that. So it really stuck home how, this little island over here has so much beauty, and how it's just so rugged on the shoreline with the big cliffs, and people come from all over the world to see these. And just with the water and the ocean, how waves are, looking at water,
it's
the waves
mesmerizing,
crashing.
yeah.
It's just really
cool.
And then we go to the next day and we see some more of it. And then the next day we saw some more.
And every place was different.
Yeah, it was all like, wow.
Every place was so different yet so unique.
They don't have that in Minnesota.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
We heard somebody say, I think it was on the boat or I don't know where we were, that said anybody can enjoy Ireland on a sunny day.
Yeah.
It takes somebody special to enjoy it in the rain. And it had been raining, 6 weeks? 6 weeks it's rained, and it's just been every day.
Just a little rain here and there. Yeah.
So I think we got one more day in Dublin, and we're going to enjoy it. We're going to go see some kind of cool things, and then we'll head back over the pond. But we still kind of like each other. So far, he's laughing.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was that's what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. So hope you've enjoyed our short antics of Ireland.